Hi, and welcome to the Scrapyard. I am your host, Nathan Mulepolder, here with Taylor.
I am Taylor.
And Xavier.
Hi, sisters.
We're going to be talking about the Stage 2 playoffs, and then we're going to be talking about the All-Star Weekend. Let's roll that intro.
Do you come from a land down under? Women go and men wonder.
Okay, let's get right into those Stage 2 finals. Shock versus Vancouver. It was the rematch made in heaven. Maybe made in hell for Vancouver, but let's talk about that. How'd you guys feel?
I predicted the Titans to win.
You did?
They did not win.
Nope.
But let's just get this over with real quick. Taylor held the point. That's all I'm going to say.
That is true. It was, oh man. Alright, listen. So, there's been all these rumors. Slasher's been reporting it. Monte Cristo's been hinting at it. That 222 will be here maybe by Stage 3. It definitely like Stage 4, like later in the season. But, 222 might be coming in the next stage. I mean, there's a month between now and then. This is like the right time to do it. And if that's the case, yet again, the Shock and the Titans show the best form of GOATs you could ever have.
Mm-hmm.
So if this is the last GOATs game we end up seeing in the Overwatch League, I'm happy because this game was absolutely incredible and the Titans looked great, but the Shock, I don't know, man, this was just like a special stage. There was something special with that team. They were motivated. They were from day one, they were locks for the championship, and we've been waiting for this rematch, and it lived up to the expectations for me.
I think something that you could just tell on what maps that Shock was like, I'm going to play very patient. Like on Blizzard World, they played very patient, pushing to the point, and then there was that amazing shatter by Super, which helped them push onto the point. And because they reset 3 times or so before doing that final push to get onto the point, they had built up all those ultimates, and they basically only used a sound barrier or one support ult and then super shatter to get onto the point and completely wiped the Titans. With that said, the Titans looked really strong too.
The Titans would have 4-0'd literally any other team in the league that
definitely,
day.
Definitely.
This was the 2 top teams. There is nobody close to them right now.
There's nobody with their skill levels.
And you know what's funny about that match, about Blizzard World? I was watching right at the end there, and I was getting into it, and I'm like, man, looks like it's going to go to the next map. And I really thought Titans were winning that team fight.
Yeah, no.
And then out of nowhere, they just start dropping. It was the wildest thing I've ever seen. And then it hit me. Oh my God, Shock just won.
Yeah,
that was a wild game.
And I texted you. I was like, oh, if the Shock can't win on Blizzard World,
they're not going to win.
And they're really good on Blizzard World. If they don't win on Blizzard World, if it does go to Rialto, I think the Titans take Rialto, so...
Yeah.
And then the momentum just carries them through to the finish. But the Shock looked amazing on Blizzard World, and they had just clutch plays from everybody on the team. But what really saved Blizzard World was the super shatter off Sinatra's grab.
There's also the thing where when you're watching it, you could just tell there was when Shock, I'm pretty sure Shock picked Paris. Mm-hmm. When Shock picked Paris,
they got rolled.
Me and Nathan, we said, why would they pick Paris if they're just going to let them roll through like this? Mm-hmm. But it also got, which I think Titans is better on the Paris map overall.
No,
it got that map out of the picking, because with the finals and stuff, it's the losing team picks the next map. So it gave Shock the opportunity to pick Anubis or Hanamura, and it gave them a chance to have that upper hand, and then they got the Paris map. I feel like the same thing, if they could have just gotten the Rialto map out of the way, then that would have been, that would have helped them, because then they would have had a stronger escort map later into the fights. I feel like that really reflected the coaching, and being well, we're going to pick this map because we know they're better at it, and then we'll get the chance to be better at a different map later.
And I think the Shock, compared to last time versus this time, they took advantage of certain moments, and they committed to certain fights in a way that they just kind of didn't in that first game, a month ago. And the commitment and the willingness to kind of take these crazy risks, and Sinatra was throwing out kind of some dumbass grabs out there.
Yeah, there were some bad ones.
But it was the willingness to
be fair,
make that play.
Yeah, the grab that got 8 on King's Row wasn't Sinatra's though. So
That's true.
It didn't get eaten. It went into the pit.
yeah, it got 8.
And on that, I thought Bumper played great.
Yeah.
He kind of fed a little bit, but
he fed a little bit.
He all the time, like that's his play style.
But
you
like
know?
Bumper on that move where he jumped over the payload and then
Yes.
shattered everyone on King's Row, I was screaming. I'm not gonna lie, I was screaming.
Yeah, like he's a playmaker. Slime and Twilight are Slime and Twilight.
Yeah.
Haxel is incredible. You know, he had a
was
lot
kind
of
of
plays.
feeding. Like no one mentioned it, but he was kind of feeding.
But the weak point on the team was Somansu getting thoroughly outplayed by Sinatra.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't even a close matchup, you know.
I think it was also interesting because when you were watching Shock go against them, you could see that like they learned from the last time and they could find a kind of pick when somebody was, because Vancouver is such a tight unit. It's not like you see like somebody overextending or that much ever, but they had these moments where they could just pick off certain players, and that's what helped. Like that's what made the team fall apart. Like I think the only reason that Grav fell into the pit was because they all made sure that they kind of bundled up around that little curve by the health pack, and there was no way for that and it went straight down and into the pit, which was pretty smart. And again, they didn't really do well on King's Row, but I feel like where Shock set up to do all these attacks and all these defenses was really smart.
No, they set up really nice.
And they had a lot of more ult control. Because both of these teams are like the teams that get ults so fast. Like Bumper can get an ult in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Sinatra will get 2 ults in like a minute.
That's also an ult per 30 seconds. Good job.
But no, it's 2 ults in like.
Yeah, I know.
Where the rest of
30 seconds.
Yeah, no, but where the rest
Yes,
of the
yeah.
teams will be like a whole minute to get an ult. So there's more fights being more fights, and this is one of those teams where like they say the ult advantage matters. I don't feel like the ult advantage matters when you have a team where Violet, Sinatra, and Super can get their ults like that.
Yeah, the team fights lasted forever, so it really ended up like there were like really little moments like Sinatra body blocking Twilight's Transcendence to get a kill. That's like little stuff like that is what sets these teams apart, because right now they're even. If they faced off again tomorrow, you know, it's 50-50. You know, like Vancouver could just win again, you know? And if they do meet in a rematch, the next stage finals for some reason, it'll be a 50-50 game again. And it's these little tiny plays that you see where it's like, this is what sets us apart. Because those fights lasted forever. No one would die.
Yeah.
Because each team is just so clean on like, oh, Bumper's in trouble, let's get him out of there. Super's in trouble.
Speaking of the next stage, how are we feeling about their futures? Both teams.
I think Vancouver's still going to be top. They may have lost, but that doesn't mean they look like it's a loss against a team that they can hold up to. Even if
It's a good loss.
Even if it went 2-2-2, I feel like they still have a pretty strong thing. And I know we kind of are talking about the future, and they both are going to do great. Let's be honest. Shock and Vancouver are nothing that we have to like worry about ever.
And we have to like think like, if 2-2-2 does come, you know, some teams are going to like benefit, some teams are going to kind of struggle, you know, like there's going to be some flux. But with the Shock and the Titans, like you look at their roster and you're like,
They're basically all flex players.
yeah, you're like, yo, alright, cool. So we have Bumper could like mess around and go DPS.
So I mean, like, so can Sinatra,
Yeah.
like,
And you look at their bench and it's like Violet on Watchpoint Gibraltar went Widow against the Spark and just ended just 3K right there. And it's like, oh, Violet can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at their bench, you're like, wait, they have Striker, who was the best tracer in the Overwatch League, and apparently he's been getting nasty at Widow in practice. They have Architect just sitting there, chilling.
Yeah, just
and he's
waiting.
incredible.
Yeah.
And then you look at the Titans. I'm not as familiar with their roster, but I know that their bench is filled with players that are
right.
dangerous. And I know that Bumper has a history of being a DPS. Haxel had a history of being a top tier Genji. These teams are so deep that any meta.
Another thing
they're
that,
good.
because we were talking about it, another thing I would like to go back to is how you were saying they were so good at keeping people alive, which is like Castor's pointed out. And it's like the little thing where you know that at this point that Vancouver goes in and they bubble Bumper first, but Shock waits until someone's low to bubble them, so that all the damage when it's getting focused on them goes straight onto it. And I think it's those little things that mechanically is what makes those two teams the best in the league.
And they're just confident. They don't,
Yeah.
you don't see them hesitate. Like, when they, like, you can kind of tell, I was watching a lot of, like, Moth point of view. And when you see Moth, you can tell the decisiveness. You know, when he calls or when somebody calls for them to go, he's putting that speed on and they're going in.
Yeah.
And then you can tell when it's like, yo, we should probably pull back. They know right when to pull back. And there's a decisiveness to their actions. And everybody's on the same page. And you just don't see that with a lot of teams. Or you might see that, but in a long team fight, it'll slowly dwindle. But with the Shock and the Titans, they're on every second of that team fight. And that's a big
Speaking of
change.
slowly dwindling, that is what our funds are doing. So we need a sponsor right now.
Do you come from a land down under? Women go and men wonder.
We made it. Okay. We have the funding. We can keep going.
That's good.
We're going to talk about the rest of the playoffs now.
The victims.
The victims. Let's start off with Spark and Dragons. They made the playoffs. The Dragons made the playoffs, and the Spark made the playoffs. Let's talk about that.
And then they had to be the victims of the
I mean,
Shock.
yeah, that was pretty evil.
The Dragons put up a good fight, though.
Yeah, no.
No, it was a good fight. Like,
Yeah.
no cap.
I
You
feel
know,
like-
like, they put up a good fight, you know, like when you're watching, like, a Vietnam film and there's the last guy, like, Rambo style,
They
but
won
he's
it.
not Rambo.
They won a map, you know?
I feel like
They won a map, yeah.
I feel like even though Dragons didn't like go far in the playoffs, they did beat the winning record.
They got a spiritual
So they
spiritual
technically
victory.
saved the rest of the Shock from Sinatra smelly jersey.
And it's valuable experience.
Yeah.
It's like...
Sinatra does not smell. He doesn't sweat, remember?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
yeah,
says
he
that,
doesn't-
but
yeah,
Rascal's face said otherwise.
that's true. But yeah, the Dragons looked... It's valuable experience.
Yes,
I
definitely.
mean, especially going from, you know, their first season to now a playoff team, and could probably be a playoff team next stage. You know,
Yeah.
like,
It's a possibility.
It's
it works. And just because you run into the best team in the league,
And you know what?
and lose,
If
that's
you look
fine.
at them compared to Florida and the changes between the two seasons, like Florida first season, pretty much the Florida we have now.
Yeah.
Shanghai the first season is definitely not the Shanghai we have now.
Yeah, like
No,
their team is filled with talent. now.
Shanghai has gone through all the efforts they could to make sure that their team would try at least to make it to the playoffs, and they did, and that's what matters. And it's the same concept. The Spark, which a couple weeks ago we were talking about how they were just kind of like that meh.
I picked the Spark to lose.
They're kind of that meh team. I'm pretty sure I picked the Spark to
You
lose.
did.
Too.
No, you picked them to win.
Did I?
Yeah, against London.
Did I?
Yeah, you did.
Really?
You
Yeah,
picked
good.
the Spark to win against
I'm pretty sure you
London.
picked the Spark.
Maybe Taylor didn't hold the point.
No.
We're gonna have to review the footage.
Yeah, something
Go to it
happened.
now. Review the footage.
Um.
Just-
Okay, we're back.
But the Spark, like I said, they finally once they showed that they could hold their own against the Shock the first time during this last stage, I kind of knew that Spark had picked up and they were going to be more of an aggressive team, and that helped them because the last couple of fights after Shock, when they had pushed this to being like, we're going to be aggressive, we're going to be better on offense, we're going to have better defense. Like, you immediately saw that they were improving, and they won a couple of games afterwards. Even if those games were against teams that were kind of, you know...
That's fine.
Yeah.
Wins or wins.
Yeah.
Wins are
Wins
wins.
are wins.
And they made it to the playoffs, and that's what kind of matters.
And they got a shocking upset in the first round. Like,
Yeah.
that's good. And then, you know, they were unfortunately absolutely ransacked by the Shock. You know, it was one of those, like, spawn camping you type games. But even then, making it to the second round means something.
Yeah,
And
making it to
getting
the second
an
round does
upset
make something.
means something. You
But
know?
I also...
And you know what? Just picture the alternate universe where Shanghai upset the entire stage. Like
yeah.
yeah,
we
could
could,
happen.
we almost could have seen it.
And
Well,
I
that
also...
people
and
are
then
home.
Shock said no.
Yeah, they lost that map and they're like, wait a minute.
Wait a second.
I also think, like, out of all the teams, I think the Spark has gone against the Shock the most.
Yeah, they've had
Like,
some...
in this entire,
In
like,
battle, yeah.
season. They've gone against Shock so many times. So if there was any team that's, like, that has that rivalry where it's like, we have to try and, like, fight back against them, it's Spark. And you can see that when they realized they had to go against Shock again, that they were like, we're going to be aggressive, and they put Shock up to battle. And they're both they're both teams that I would love to see back in the playoffs, and I feel like both of those teams would be really strong if they went to the 2-2-2.
Yeah, and the Fuel, they had just a rough matchup the first round. I mean, if you have to play the Titans,
yeah,
that's just rough. Like, there's what the hell are you gonna do? Like, so
that's rotten luck.
Just making it to the playoffs means something for them because you're not going to beat the Titans.
Fuel and Shock were those teams last year that had the biggest fan bases, and they were both the ones that like let down their fans so much, and at the end sold it too. Mm-hmm. But it was like these two teams, Fuel and like Shock, they were still the ones that have like the biggest like backing, the biggest like fan group.
So if they can make the playoffs all the time.
Yeah. And it was nice to see that after their homestand that they got a chance to be in the playoffs, and then all those people back home got to like cheer them on.
And they were, it's a bad matchup, but that's fine. And then the Spitfire managed to get the 2nd seed and lost, and that is, I feel like I always say like, oh, London is underperforming, but I think they're just like performing to their level at this point. Like they're not full on Seoul Dynasty hopeless gatekeepers, but they're so inconsistent right now. I just don't think they're a solid GOATS team right now. I don't think they're a top tier GOATS team.
I think
2-2-2 they're gonna.
I think the issue with Spitfire is kind of like Mayhem, where they didn't really change anything in between the seasons. Like they're still kind of playing like at their level they were last year, and they didn't really go into like being like, oh, we're gonna go full on with this GOATS thing. They didn't go like. Once it goes back to 2-2-2, they'll be like pretty top of their game. But I feel like it's just right now they're so wishy-washy that it's like they're not. I can't even believe it.
But I don't think it really matters, at least at this point, because I think the Spitfire are looking forward to the big playoffs rather than kind of dominating these stage playoffs. And it's nice to make the stage playoffs and win them, but I think the Spitfire, why they didn't really change anything, and they're kind of going through this hard time with GOATS is because they're foreseeing, like, all right, if things change, we still have an incredible roster, so you just kind of ride this one out, be really good in the regular season, and come big playoff time, when it matters, then, you turn it on, and you should look great. Definitely. That's what they did last season, so hopefully it turns out this way, because the London Spitfire are a fun team, and it's nice to have a fun London.
What about the NYXL, though?
Okay, so the thing with the NYXL, they went against the Gladiators, right?
They did.
I'm like, hello?
No, I thought you were throwing to our Gladiator segment.
No.
Where we trash the Gladiators for a couple minutes.
No.
But go on.
I was asking for real. Or
yes,
they played. So NYXL, we kind of
felt that same thing.
Yeah, I was like, oh, right.
Go ahead.
NYXL kind of is, they're one of the top teams. And Gladiators, they like to think they're one of the top teams. So I knew that the NYXL would put, like, the Gladiators put up a really, like, skirmishy, really, like, nasty fight back and forth.
Let's remember, Taylor picked the Gladiators. All right, continue.
Roll the clip, and we're back.
NYXL, on the other hand, I knew that they weren't going to win against the Titans. We knew that it was going to be the thing. Yeah. But it's, again, one of those things where when you watch NYXL versus the Titans, and that you see that, like, it was, like, what, 3-1, 4-1? Something like that? 4-1.
Yeah, they took a map.
That they still took a map, and that just leads me more into, like, so what is it that these teams do on this one map that lets them beat the Titans?
I just think the Titans they're playing, like, the New York Excelsior are a great team. Like, they're going to have a good map.
Yeah.
And with the Excelsior, it's, at least to me, I see they're the number 3 team. I don't care what anyone says.
So it's like Vancouver, Shock.
Yes, and them beating the Gladiators proves that they are the number 3 team, and the Gladiators were not the true number 3 team. New York Excelsior is better than everybody below them. And the only difference between them and the Shock, or them and the Shock and the Titans, I feel, is that while the New York are, everybody knows they're a very reactive team.
Yes.
And while the Shock and the Titans are
aggressive,
absurdly proactive.
Yeah.
And when you get to that point, like, the Titans, it's just not their play style when or the Excelsior, when it's not in their playstyle, when the Titans and the Shock go here, it's not in their playstyle to meet them in the middle and say, let's knuckle up.
It's very much, they back off, and that's what's...
And so when you give them ground...
Some of the Soul players said, like, they just knew NYXL is such a patient fighter.
They're going to give you...
and they give you so much ground that they knew that they could just kind of, if they just bullied a little bit, if they were patient, and then when they had the Ultras bullied in, they knew that they would win. And that's why NYXL didn't win last season.
And so it's not like the New York Excelsior are the greatest GOATS team, but they're better than everybody else.
Yeah. Yes.
But it's just the aggression.
And they're better than the Gladiators, which is, Gladiators.
Man, listen. The Gladiators, you haven't won a playoff game. You had some good highlights. Yeah, they had some good highlights.
Yes, they have.
They had that crazy flank on Kings Row, and that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But let's remember, they lost that game.
Yeah.
All right. I'm keeping it up with the NBA references. That game on Kings Row where they had that crazy flank all the way around and took the point. That's their Allen Iverson stepping over Ty Lue moment. That's their Allen Iverson going off in Game 1 against the Lakers. Because, if we all remember, they lost that series.
Yep.
Yeah.
You guys don't remember. But the 76ers... The 76ers lost that series
Bully Taylor episode.
to the Lakers. And so the Gladiators lost that series to the Spitfire. The Gladiators can't produce in the
Gladiators have, I feel, a similar problem to the NYXL. But NYXL definitely, shows it off more, is that they have, like, what you'd call in storytelling, they have no agency. They have no, like, they're not active enough. They have no agency. Speaking of agency...
They don't take it,
My agent just called.
Oh, you have an agent.
And he told me we need to throw to a sponsor right now, so we're going to go there.
Do you come from a land down under? Where women go and men wonder.
This is where the fun begins. We're going to be talking about the All-Star Weekend, which is actually on a Wednesday and a Thursday, but that's the end of someone's week somewhere, probably. So we're going to be talking about the Talent Takedown first. On Atlantic Talent, we got Puckett, Sideshow, Zoe, Bren, Monte Cristo, Doa, and Hexagrams. Pretty good lineup. And then on the Pacific side, we got Danny, Mr. X, Uber Wolf, Achilleos, Micah Burton, and Semler. My bad. I'm sorry. I have bad eyes.
He does have bad eyes.
Do we want to take that one more time?
No, it's
no,
fine.
it's
Okay.
good. You're good.
Who do you think is going to win? Who are you rooting for?
Yeah, who are you rooting for? Because there is a difference
So-
between that.
That's true.
These teams, it's the casters playing against each other.
Yeah.
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 Literally all these names are...
Yeah, so it's the casters. No, I'm just making sure. So it's the casters playing against each other. The only people I know on the Pacific team is Uber, Danny, Mr. X, and Mika.
So most of the team.
So the vast majority of the team,
just about half of the team.
About more than half.
I'm gonna go with the Atlantic team though, because I know all of them better, and they all seem a little bit more. They all seem.
Listen here, you nuggets.
Wait, before we get into that.
I was about to go in.
Listen here, you nuggets. So, I want to say that I am rooting hardcore for Pacific. That's my home turf. That's where it's at. But in reality, I got to side with Atlantic. They're going to win because they are Chris. They got the Puckett. That's my boy. Okay, go ahead. I relate to that, man.
All right, well, he stole my bit, so...
I'm sorry.
I'm just going to break this down to you. I'm setting the Atlantic team at about like minus 400 on the money line betting odds, so you can get your bets in. The Atlantic are the favorites. Listen, you have Zoe, who was solid last Talent Takedown.
Mm-hmm.
But what's gonna set this team apart is Doa and Monte Cristo.
Yeah.
Doa and Monte Cristo have been together for years in the League of Legends scene. They were together They came to Overwatch together. They
Don't
were in
they-
Apex together.
Don't they live together?
Monty and Doa carrying it through. Now then, there's the All-Star Arcade. We got some pretty interesting thing. We got the sibling rivalry. That's a 6v6 with 3 Genjis and 3 Hanzos per team, and it's going to be on Hanamura.
Keep going.
Just
Jesus, man.
that's a thing.
That's gonna be
And
fun.
then there's Healers Never Die, and it's going to be just supports.
Boy,
That
game's
be
gonna
crazy.
be insane because this is gonna be these supports' chance to just like,
Go wild.
yeah, just go super aggro.
Man,
like,
I want to
man,
see aggro ass Moiras and stuff.
like, yeah,
Oh.
we're gonna see some of the craziest Lucio play we've ever seen.
Crazy
like, these
Lucio,
Lucios are
crazy
gonna be
Zenyatta.
Oh yeah.
Crazy Lucio, crazy Zenyatta, crazy
Crazy
Brigitte,
Anna.
Yeah,
crazy Anna.
these players are gonna be unlocked. It's gonna I think
This-
that's gonna
it's
be
gonna
the
be
best
magic.
one.
We'll also see some we'll probably see some Baptiste.
Yeah, no, that'll be
Because
the best
that's a
game
good
this whole
cheesy-
weekend. I
that's a-
think.
That's a good cheesy support. Baptiste would be like that.
It's the closest thing they have to like almost a tank.
And it's also
Brig,
Briggy.
yeah.
well, it's also the fact that he doesn't have to actually heal.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like if
Yeah,
it's
it
a
was
whole
fun.
support, he has the gun.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
And then we have terrible damage. 6v6 damage only, 1 hero limit, and it's gonna be on Hollywood.
Yo, we're gonna see somebody bust out the Torb, the Doomfist.
Oh.
Man, we're gonna see people bust out.
Ooh, the Doomfist.
Yeah.
That'll be
Bust out
wild.
the
I didn't think
Tracer.
about that.
There's gonna be
It's gonna be.
There's gonna be snipers.
ridiculous.
There's gonna be.
Oh, we're
Oh,
gonna see the Widow for sure.
Widow's definitely
Yeah,
coming
but
out.
no, that's gonna be fun just because I think, it's All Stars, so people are there to have fun. So I
Yeah.
think you're gonna see those, like Torbs and the Symmetras and like the flanking,
Yeah.
like you're
Yeah.
gonna see all these weird things just because it's the time to
Some
let
Sombra
loose.
play, some Sombra play.
Yeah,
probably.
love some Sombra. just
Symmetra
annoying
even.
hacks. Yeah.
Symmetra even.
So it'll be fun.
Definitely. And then we are keeping the peace, which is a 6v6 McCree only on Route 66.
Yo,
It's a lot of
Pine-
sixes.
If Pine ain't in that game,
I think
I'm
Pine
turning
ain't in
turning
that
off
game.
the TV. Honestly,
I think that for me is just gonna be like the most ridiculous of all the games, because it's out of all the other ones, it's like there's the 3 Genjis, 3 Hanzos, but that's 3 heroes each. This one is just McCree.
Yeah.
Like, and he's not the fastest hero. He has his role, but he's not like he doesn't have the most health.
I have this hope in my heart that the players will come together and decide to just all high noon at once.
Oh,
you just hear in unison,
it's high noon.
12 Mercers just, it's high, and then just everyone draw.
That'd be beautiful.
that
Would
would
be amazing.
I hope that happens. That'd be pretty cool.
yeah,
Just
that's
trading ults. Oh god.
That'd be beautiful.
And then finally, thanks, but no tanks. No tanks, 1 hero limit on Blizzard World. Good map for that.
We're gonna see like
It's gonna
it's
be
gonna be weird,
Yeah.
but it'll be fun because
In my
I think
mind-
in this they're gonna have tank players in the
Yeah.
map pool, so we're gonna see homies like Bumper or
Yeah.
Super, kind of these all-star reserves. Maybe some Gushue, But no, I think this is gonna be all tank players having to not play tank roles.
That
also-
would be interesting.
Yeah.
I also think when I think about like the no thanks but no tanks, like there's gonna be no tanks at all.
That's
Yeah, no, I'm saying there's gonna be
That's
no
what that
tanks at all.
means.
And if it's tank players having to play these like non-tank roles, I'm like, what is Bumper gonna play?